I've stopped asking what stupid decision Wizards of the Coast will do because inevitably, they answer for themselves with this level of fucking stupidity. Hello, this is Mara Jade, and I'm back with another video, and last week on Cringe Factory, myself and Steve Kenobi discussed what Wizards of the Coast was doing, and that is removing the inherently racist half-species system moving forward. So what stupidity are they coming up with now? Well, they're going to adapt it, change it to Children of Different Humanoid Kinds mechanic. As if that's any fucking better. Really, the only thing about half-species means, without going into the weeds of the rules and so forth in D&D, is that it's literally you are half of one species and half of another species, because human is a race, right? Is a species. Elves are a race, a species, alright? Orcs, the same way, and so forth, alright? So when a character creates a half-species of something, it's half of one species, half another species. And they just kind of say, I'm a half-elf. Or, I'm a half-orc. What have you. That's fucking it. Without going into the weeds, that is the gist of it. But apparently, according to Wizards of the Coast, it's inherently racist. So do they have a problem with biracial people? If that's inherently racist, then biracialness is in itself racist as well. That they are outing themselves, literally. But at any rate, let's just dive right into this article so we can get a gauge of, yet again, the level of window-licking stupidity coming from Wizards of the Coast. Alright? Following the uproar sparked by the publisher's recent declaration that they would be moving to eliminate the, quote, inherently racist concept of half-species from D&D, like I said, it just means that they are half of one species and half of another species, Wizards of the Coast has clarified that they are not wholesale removing a player's ability to play a mixed species character, so basically they are doing some damage control here, but still stupid, but rather, at least at current, planning to replace it with a new, quote, Children of a Different Humanoid Kinds mechanic. The level of stupidity is mind-boggling. The popular tabletop publisher first declared their intention to alter D&D's treatment of half-species during their recent D&D Creator Summit, an event hosted by Physically and Virtually, wherein Wizards of the Coast provided various game developers and related content creators with a sneak peek at the game's future direction. Right down the fucking shitter is that direction. Therein, lead rules designer Jeremy Crawford revealed, as directly quoted by both tabletop designer Beth Rimmels and independent content creator Daniel Kwan, that the entire concept of a half-species would soon be phased out of D&D due to Wizards of the Coast's belief that the category's entire existence was, quote, problematic. If you drop that word unironically, you're the fucking problem. Because there was nothing at all problematic about the concept of a half-species. Never, until they started pandering to the fucking participation trophy crowd on Twitter, did anyone have any issue with this concept. The only times that you would remotely at all decide that you weren't going to play a half-species is because of the feats and skills that come with certain classes and so forth, alright? Basically, playing a pure elf versus a half-elf, you get better feats and skills when you're playing the pure-blood of the species, for one better way of putting it, versus half of the species, right? You know, generally the decision people have made, pretty much. Not because one was inherently racist. Frankly, you are not comfortable and haven't been for years with any of the options that start with half, Crawford explains. Well, you're not even half a man, so there's that. The half construction is inherently racist, so we simply aren't going to include it in the new player's handbook. Offering one caveat, the designer then assured players that despite the half-species official removal from the player's handbook, if someone wants to play those character options, they'll still be in D&D Beyond, and they'll still be in the 2014 player's handbook. So if you're keeping it in the 2014 Player's Handbook, that would still make it racist. So why aren't you changing those books? Why aren't you reprinting them to change the inherently racist concept? if it's that racist, why are you leaving it in the 2014 Player's Handbook, but only changing it moving forward? Soon after the event, Crawford's announcement spread like wildfire across social media, as many baffled players understandably took his exact wording to mean that Wizards of the Coast would be eliminating all mixed race mechanics from the game. Yeah, that's pretty much the wording we got. So yeah, In light of this outrage, Wizards of the Coast took to the official D&D Beyond Twitter account on April 6th to clarify that options for creating characters descended from more than one species are not being removed from Dungeons & Dragons, but rather being replaced with a new set of proposed adjustments to character origins. The currently being tested adjustments, as seen in the publisher's official materials, will apparently see the existence of half-species replaced with a new system known as Children of Different Humanoid Kinds. So fucking stupid. Per this new system, rather than creating characters whose mixed lineage grants them some unique appearances, traits, and abilities, players will now simply base their character's stats on only one of their parent races, with the only elements actually affected by a character being biracial are their appearance and natural lifespans. They're completely altering it. They're fucking completely altering it. Because you would make the players pick one race over another. Which doesn't make any fucking sense. Because they're mixed. So you can't simply base the character stats on just one race if they are of two races. Because you are eliminating the other race. So let's say for example, a character decides that they're going to play a half species where it's a half elf and a half orc. Alright? Just throwing that out there. And they decide that they're going to go with the stats for the elf, because stats for elves are pretty lit. They're pretty good. They're pretty damn good. And excluding anything at all to do with orcs. And this is the same entity, Wizards of the Coast, same entity, and the same people who are praising this or liking this, who think orcs represent black people, right? Okay? Represent black people. They have a problem with orcs. Because, in their minds, that's what's happening, even though it's not the case. So if someone decides that they're going to go with the stats of the elves, you're basically putting the player in a position where they're excluding the one race, orc, and you're going to have them in a position to be accused of being racist. Right? It makes absolutely no fucking sense. Makes absolutely no fucking sense to discount entirely the stats of one race and only focus on the stats of one race, because the players are obviously going to go with the stats of the better race. Which makes, again, doesn't make any sense. If you'd like to play the child of such a wondrous pairing, choose two race options that are humanoid to represent your parents. Reads the current rule set. Then determine which of those race options provides your game traits, size, speed, and special traits. You can then mix and match visual characteristics. Finally, determine the average of the two options' lifespan traits to figure out how long your character might live. Concludes the very basic instructions for Wizards of the Coast new system. You're making it a lot more fucking complicated than it needs to be. Notably, despite taking the time to offer this clarification on D&D's new rules, Wizards of the Coast yet to offer any reasoning as to why the concept of half-species is, as Crawford explains, inherently racist. Yeah, they're not. They're fucking not. They're going to throw those buzzwords out there. Alright, to pander to a certain demographic that really didn't care about the game until their little egos were stroked on Twitter, pretty much. So they're not going to answer that question. And if they give an answer, it's going to be bullshit, it's going to be stupid, it's inevitably so. But again, they're making it a lot more fucking complicated than it needs to be. Really, no one had any fucking issue with this whatsoever until now. And if you still support Wizards of the Coast, if you at all complain about this and yet still shell out money to Wizards of the Coast, you are the fucking problem. Because if they're making money, then they're going to see no absolute reason to alter any course of action whatsoever. But at any rate, what are your thoughts on this whole stupidity down in the comments below? Do you agree with what Wizards of the Coast is doing? Do you disagree with what Wizards of the Coast is doing? Do you play D&D still at all? Have you played D&D? If you have and maybe stopped, what edition did you stop at? Myself, I stop at edition 3.5. I will go no further because the 4th edition onward is where Wizards of the Coast began going downhill, monumentally so in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. Let me know all that stuff down in the comments below. I'll be live later tonight on Kick, my new Kick, Jade Shadow. It's back up to Twitch. I'm still on Twitch, but I'm going to be altering streaming on Kick and Twitch, just in case one goes under and so forth. Plus of some decisions that Twitch is making on their end, as well as hypocritical choices reflected on what Twitch has done to certain players. But at any rate, like I said, I'll be live later tonight on Kick. I will post a link on Twitter as well as in a community post. So if you're so inclined, come follow me over there. I'm trying to reach affiliate. I'm about 27 followers away from being able to monetize myself on Kick as well as Twitch. So tune in for that tonight, playing some Destiny 2. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. Share on social media if you will. This is Mara Jade. Catch you on the dark side. And they always want to say, hold my beer, when I think, what stupidity will come from Wizards of the Coast this week?